Welcome to the Collab Podcast. My name is Michelle.
And my name is Devin.
On this podcast, we explore concepts of self-mastery and community collaboration
through in-depth panel discussions and intimate interviews with dance's most prominent figures.
Yeah, she my peanut butter jelly snack, pull it ride, but she painting. That's my sunshine when it's raining. That's my boo, yeah. When I'm all alone, she pulled through.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Collab Podcast. I'm back with my co-host, Michelle, and today's guest has had an incredible impact on our dance journey and our lives. A prior Box Dance Studio dance alumni, Kiara Pornan is not only considered a friend, but has also become our soul sister. We met Kiara as a young, aspiring dancer, and through years of hard work, dedication, and focus, Kiara became one of the most relied upon leaders at the Box Dance Studio, earning the title of co-artistic director for RAW, the studio's junior competition team. Kiara, alongside Dylan Benares, led RAW to many victories and together made their artistic debut at Maxed Out Dance Competition 2014, where they received recognition as the only minor team competing in the major adult division. Shortly thereafter, Kiara joined Olympian All-Female for the 2014 and 2015 seasons and ended up taking a sabbatical from her dance career to pursue her passion for academics and prepare for her school's Quiz Bowl. Kiara continued to dance while at Brown. Yes, you heard what we said, the private Ivy League research university Brown, and prompted by the current pandemic, returned home to San Diego last year. Kiara continues to write, sing, and create. We have a deep love for Kiara. She's a friend, a fellow dancer, and our sister. And I have to throw in that she was one of my maid of honors for my wedding. Please welcome today's very talented and brilliant guest, Kiara Pornan.
Welcome.
Hello. Wow, that was like, you just laid out my whole life right there. There it was. Yeah, that's me.
Gosh, it's such an honor though, like to be able to say that like you've been such an important part of our lives. Max and I feel the same.
Yes. Oh my God, Max heard the dulcet tones of my voice. So I was just thinking about what an honor it is to have been able to like start there where we all were, and then now we're here on your podcast. I don't know. I don't really know what exactly to say next. But hello, I am here, and it is wonderful. It is wonderful to be here.
We're so excited to have you. I think part of writing the introduction was really emotional and therapeutic for us because we realized not only were you a part of such a huge part of our lives and our dance journey, but we really had the opportunity to watch you grow and become the beautiful human being that you are. And we feel very privileged to know you. But I kind of want to rewind to like the very first time that we met Kiara.
Oh my God. Are you talking about the farmer's market? You're talking about at the farmer's market. Well, oh my gosh. Yeah, I haven't actually like thought about this explicitly in forever. But yeah, the first time we met, my grandma, my dad's mom, was taking me to the farmer's market at La Terrance. I think it was on Tuesday afternoons then. And I think, was it ripe at the time?
Yeah, I think we were already ripe.
I think you guys were ripe at the time, and you were doing some kind of like, just like some performance at the farmer's market, and there was like a freestyle circle. And I don't remember, like, I think my grandma made me go up, but then like Devin pulled me on, and it was like a whole thing, and I was just dancing. And that was like literally like, I don't know, you have, like superhero like origin stories. That was like the moment. And it just was like, all right, well, this happened, so now we have to do something about it. You know what I mean? And then from there, it was just like, it was like I blinked and then we were at Devin's wedding. But no, that's not what happened. So much happened in between. I was thinking about, when I was like kind of getting ready this morning, I was thinking about just like the way that I am today and the way that people are like, oh, you know, I've been thinking that like people have always told me that I act mature, but that is like, so like, that is not true. Like my most cringe moments, I think you guys have like known me through that. And that's like so funny to think about. Like you got, like, we don't have, you guys know, like you've known me at my most cringe, and you know what? You were like my big sisters that were like, you know, Kiara, we're just gonna move past this and we're just gonna pick it up. And now, you know, I go to work and I have this tattoo. It's 1977, which is the year that my parents were born. And people ask me if I was born in 1977. And, you know, who else do I have to thank? But, you know, the people who saw me through like 6th grade into going into high school, like all the worst parts. But that's beautiful, no, and those are great times. You know, I couldn't think of better people to spend my formative years with. Yeah.
We love you so much. And, you know, I think you hit you hit it right on the head. We really got to see, you know, I always used to call you a beautiful weirdo because we got to see the beautiful weird side of Kiara. But then on the flip side, you know, you became, like we said in the intro, one of the most relied upon leaders at the studio. And so just like that, you flipped a switch and it became serious co-director Kiara, who was blocking and staging and choreographing. And it was really kind of powerful to see you in both these extremes. And I think that was one of the things that we really loved about you and your leadership, because you could switch it on, but then you could also switch it off. In the 1 minute you were like telling Raw that, you know, they needed to be clean, and you were, you know, conditioning them. And in the next minute you were taking 50 million selfies on my cell phone that I would come to find hours later.
Like, I can't believe, like, I was a baby. Like, we were babies. That is so, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, as much as you, like, we looked to you as a little sister, I think there were a lot of times where we looked up to you. Likewise, I feel as though you've seen me through a lot of my cringiest moments. And to be able to say that, like, you stuck around for all of that and you're still there for me, that means a lot.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, something that feels worth mentioning now is, I think it was really interesting, like, to be able to have that kind of, like, trust from you guys, like, when I was so young, and to have the kind of, like, it's such a unique, like, little, like, ecosystem that we had going on there. And, like, it was really interesting. I think now, looking back, I'm learning a lot about, like, how do I say this? When I started dancing, I didn't really have, like, a concept of, like, what it was to be a good dancer, or, like, what it meant to actually be a dancer, except, like, I was thinking of, okay, I'm going to find a way to say this, and then we're going to get it in the podcast. For example, like, when I was young and started dancing, when we were all young, like, what was a good dance team? Like, a good dance team was a really clean one, and like they had really good sets and stuff, but also, like, there was, like, an exclusivity to it that I think, especially because we were young, like, a lot of a lot of like the ways that we felt about things, like a lot of the opinions that we held were based on like whether or not everyone could do that. So I think, I don't really know exactly where I was going with this. I think, see, I was about to go on a whole different tangent about like a pandemic. I'm thinking, I'm thinking of examples of like, what did I think was cool about IDK? One of the things that was like the coolest things about IDK was so many people tried out and like so few people got in, you know what I mean? And like one of the cool things about having a studio was that like we didn't have to dance in our backyards anymore, you know what I mean? So I think kind of being able to grow out of that, and like I think, I don't think it's one of the reasons that I like stopped dancing or whatever, but I think during the period that I stopped dancing, I got pretty lost in like, you know, what I didn't really know what I was looking for except to like be able to exclude other people. And it sounds really harsh when I say that, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Like you want to get to a point where you can say, I did this even though like all of these other people couldn't do that. And I think like stepping away from dance for a while and then coming back to it, I think is really interesting to just think about, oh, I was just like a little kid and I didn't know that like I was just trying to do the us and them thing because it made me feel like us. I think growing out of that has been one of the reasons that I've been able to come back to that. I feel like we were still talking about like how we met though.
No, but that's the beauty of having such fluid conversation, is that, you know, it'll take us in different directions. And, you know, there's no real format here other than we just want to talk to you. And I love where we're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I want to go back to what you were saying about how people always thought that you were very like mature for your age. And I think that was one of the things that we gravitated towards when we chose you as a leader, was because you were so, I mean, you weren't a kid to us, you know, you were in our minds very much a leader and very much suited for that position. I'm interested to hear your opinion, though, on kind of how you felt. You know, we've talked to Dylan about this. You know, he said it was really challenging for him to switch from like a peer to a leader. So I want to hear your thoughts on what it was like to make that switch between being a peer on, you know, in one day and then the next day having to actually tell them what to do and lead them.
For me, I don't think that was much of a challenge just because that's not what I remember the most about it. I feel like also Dylan and I kind of have different styles of leadership. I think, okay, so I have a lot of thoughts about this and I don't want to make you guys have to do like so much editing magic to make this make sense. So Dylan I just think of him and I think of Olympian all male and I think of Jordan. You know what I mean? They have a very specific type of leadership that isn't as conducive to like also casual friendships as I think mine is. I'm very like just different about that. I think for me, the most difficult thing was like continuing to like satisfy myself. Like I think I had a really hard time. Like I think I understood where I wanted to be. Just in terms of like, you know, creatively, like I wanted to choreograph at the level that I wanted to. And I knew where I wanted to be, but I didn't have as much patience with the process for myself. So that was one of the most difficult things for me, like in a leadership position, because I was really good at like going through the motions, you know what I mean? And I still hadn't really like found my voice. Like I was like singing other people's songs, you know what I mean? One of the interesting things about me being in that position so young was that like it did make sense. Like it just like flowed naturally, like kind of me moving up. But I don't know, I think I was just still young and I was like going in different directions. I was also thinking about, you know, whether I was gonna like be dancing like hip hop like this, because I think another thing that was really interesting was like I was really used to like instantly being able to like do what I wanted to do. And I just wasn't really getting that from dance at that time. So I just kind of like, okay, well, now I'm scoring a lot of points in Quiz Bowl, you know? So I think that's growing up. I think that's me, like, you know, having ADHD as a child, but also like being a girl. But so that was the difficult thing for me, like being in a leadership role at that time, was like, I checked all the boxes, like everything should fit, but I didn't really feel like there the way I wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Did you feel this way like when you were actually leading, or is that something that you now realize after a bit of introspection? Because I feel like the way that you're talking right now, you just have such a high level of self-awareness. But were you feeling that as it was happening, or is it now that you're looking back, you're like, yeah, that's what I was going through?
I don't think that I was like thinking about it in so many words. I'm trying to really like refresh my timeline on like kind of the later, because it was kind of like a slow pull out for me, in terms of like just like gradually like kind of having less responsibility at the box. I think I just generally felt like the people around me were getting better and like I wasn't, but it was also because I don't know, I think I had to grow into my body a little bit more. But I think I also had to learn to like have more patience with myself in a way that like I just wasn't mature enough for. So I wasn't like, I don't think I was like mature enough to be able to grow as a dancer anymore then. So I think I just kind of like faded out of it. I didn't really know why. I mean, these are not really things I was thinking about at the time, but I remember thinking like, I just don't know if dance is like what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? At that time, that meant to me like, I don't know that I could be Janelle at Viento, basically. Like, I don't know that I could get this good and be able to be this clean and then like get like represented by an agency. Like that was the only real like concrete picture I had at the time of like continuing in this path and like being a dancer. So I just didn't think that's where I was going. So I just kind of like backed off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's interesting that you say that though, because I think knowing what we know now in terms of dance and pursuing it as a career and all the different avenues, but you're right. Kind of at the time that, you know, we had started the box and we had started the teams, it was a very niche profession, and there was only, there were certain dancers that you followed that, you know, were represented by agencies and had like a certain path, right? And there wasn't all these other opportunities for growth in that profession. So that makes perfect sense. You're so smart.
And it's kind of emotional to talk about it because we just haven't really like talked about it that much before. But I don't think I really, you know, knew either. I was just following my heart, you know, whatever that means, which at the time was just like me not getting instant gratification from dancing. So yeah, I guess, where are we going with this? My question is.
You answered it.
Cool. So yeah, that's how I felt being a leader at the dance at the box, and yeah, it's kind of it definitely feels like I definitely feel a sense of a lack of closure, but that's in part because like there shouldn't be any like this thing is still moving, but it was pretty sad to like be fading out at the time that you guys were like moving studios a lot, and then just kind of like falling out, and then just being like, oh. But now we're here, you know what I mean? And it's amazing. I don't know. I can't be anything but like grateful for that time that we had. You know, I just keep thinking about like being in middle school and being like, man, these guys have to freestyle in their backyards like chumps. And now look at us, it's COVID. We're all freestyling in our backyards, and it's beautiful. Like it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like that is like the most beautiful thing about dance. And like I couldn't even appreciate that at the time. That is something really important, I think. Yeah.
What does dance mean to you now? We've talked a little bit about how you felt about being a dancer when you were like in it, but now that you've had some time away from it, what does it mean to you?
Oh my gosh. See, this is like it's one of those things, you know, the more you know, the more you don't know. The more you realize you don't know. I mean, if you asked me what dance was in 2012, I would have showed you a video of the company. And that's still kind of what I do. That's like still like Urban Paradise 2012 and 2014. And you know, what is it, AOV before they got canceled. Oops. And now like it's hard to talk about this without like invoking a lot of like cliches, but in a lot of ways like dance is everything. Like even like the things, it's even the things you don't want to be dance, and it's even the things like you've never thought about dance being before. Like dance is the artist in the art gallery with waving a scarf around, and you're like, anyone could do that, but like you're not doing it right now. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and dance is working in the kitchen. Like this is one thing that like I'm sure your dad understands like way more than I could have comprehended before I started working in a kitchen. Which is like, there's like this beautiful motion, especially now that I'm working in like the tiniest kitchen like I could even comprehend. Like my workspace is probably the size of my desk right here, which is like, it's but you gain a real appreciation for the habits that other people have, the tells that they have. Like you learn to like predict where other people are going, and you make your way around that, and you use your core strength because you have to maneuver around people, and you know you're going to do things in this order, and everything should be where it is. I don't know, dance is just like having a real awareness and appreciation for what your body is doing, what the bodies of other people are doing. And I think there's really something to be said about the power of like being consciously aware of it. Just like, yeah, thinking about the ways that your body can move, and to move other people in your movement. Like really, like to bring people to like an emotion they've never experienced before, like to, yeah, dance is literally everything. Like it's so many things that I haven't even mentioned yet. It's probably somehow like this bottle of sangria, I'm not sure yet. Yeah, so there. Thank you, Brown.
Speaking of, you know, you were always just so cerebral and still are. I mean, when we talk to you, it's so just the concepts that you talk about are it makes, every time I talk to you, it makes me go, holy like, wow. I never thought of it in that context, right? It's so enlightening. And I want to hear a little bit about your experience at Brown and kind of how you applied your experience there into doing what you're doing now and being a creator. And, you know, because Brown is an Ivy League research school. It's not
just Stoner Ivy, but okay.
But you know, you know, people would argue that, you know, academics are much different than being an artist. And so I just want to hear your opinion on like how that impacted you.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm very much following my own path, which is I'm chugging along. I think that being an academic, like, it's impacted my life in that I have always been very thoughtful of things, and it made sense for me to kind of just keep doing that and like get credit for it, but also pay a ton of money for it. I don't know. Being like, it's really interesting. I don't know. Thinking about being at Brown and what it has taught me, like, it's just how to like continue thinking about everything in my life really hard and like how to frame that in. I know I'm talking about it in really abstract terms, but for example, I study philosophy in visual art at Brown, which is like up in the air because I'm on a break. Maybe I'll go back and do creative writing or something. Like being at Brown and being in school, like Brown academically has taught me to just like continue thinking really hard about my body. I mean, one of the major things is philosophy has made me think really hard about my place in the world, which has a lot of meanings. But like my place in the dance community, like what is that based on? Like, what is it? What am I really talking about when I talk about that? You know what I mean? Like, what do I define it by? How much is it based on like these other things that I haven't really thought about very hard? You know what I mean? So being at Brown has just made me more aware than ever of like the place that I'm in and how much stuff I don't know. And you know, I'm definitely like hesitant to frame myself as any kind of authority on like the dance community nowadays, but it definitely has taught me like being away from home has taught me like how important it is to feel like you have a home to come back to. There's so many things I want to talk about. Oh my God. Being away has taught me about how every community is kind of exactly the same, except that like you don't know the people in the other ones. So I was at Brown and there were like a lot of cool things happening in like the art scene and the food scene and the dance scene. And I was like, I should be really high up on the ladder and I'm not. You know what I mean? That was a really weird thing. Which sounds like I'm framing it in a really funny way, but it really taught me about like what I have here. And like being over there made me realize how interconnected like the food scene is with like the general creative scene. I didn't really have an appreciation for like anything like that. Coming back here and I'm trying to get in touch with like the creative scenes and like the food scenes in a really meaningful way. And I'm learning like how much of the same people like just like people know each other from everywhere. And like people are involved with each other because there's like this like unifying like creative energy, which is like loyal to, I think, the community that you're in. So that's why I couldn't really tap into it over there. But like, I think I became a lot more aware of it over there as like, just kind of like, I became aware of the concept of the power of like local community in a way that isn't really tangible. That's really interesting. It's really interesting to like see the X-ray of it over there and then to come back home to it over here. So that's something I'm like continually gaining appreciation for. Yeah, just like, you know, what I have here with other people, what I have here with you guys and the people that we've met along the way.
While you were at Brown, I think I remember you posted on your Instagram that you took a dance class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, reading your caption, it felt like, I can't remember exactly what you said. So I'm gonna like speak very generally, but I think it was a very like important moment for you because you hadn't danced in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience and why it was so important to you?
It was, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. For one thing, it was weird. It was weird being at Brown and people not knowing that I used to dance. You know what I mean? Because here it was always a thing, and at least after I kind of fell out, it was like, Kiara used to dance. You know, I'd be playing shows with T-Rexico, and they'd be like, "Oh, remember we used to dance?" I'm like, mm-hmm. So it was weird, like, you know, having to rebuild my street cred in that sense. But I was also really afraid to like go back to dance and like be bad. You know what I mean? I honestly like don't remember what I captioned that, but I think it was like, you know, I can't only make pieces, I could get down too. But it was really nice to like it, because I don't know that I want to say that I feel like I picked up where I left off, because I don't. Like when I stopped dancing, you know, when I stopped like taking time out of my day to dance, and like to watch myself dance, I just like wasn't really able to move my body in the ways that I wanted to. And then I kind of came back and I kind of was like, I definitely like, you know, don't think I can just like come back and dance. But like, that was funny. But it is nice to, oh my gosh, yeah, to feel a real like sense of ownership over my body, and like to have to feel control over it in a way that I like really, really wanted to, but just like really, I think I'm continually growing into, and I don't think it's like, one of the things with me is I can get really like into it. Like I can talk myself out of like, you know, doing any actual like work. So in this sense, like it's really important for me to understand, like I acknowledge that like, you know, a lot of like countless hours of just like craft and like a lot of stuff goes into that, but a lot of it, you know, you just kind of pick up along the way. Just like walking, like I'm a lot better probably at walking than I was when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's been I think something really important for me to understand, to be able to connect to dancing. I think it was also kind of good that I was starting kind of on a fresh slate. Like I think I would be more hesitant to take a long break from dancing and then come back here and then just know everyone and just be like, oh, we have to find our own choreo cookies now. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, fuck, I used to direct them. And now they're all choreo cookies.
Doesn't that earn you like an honorary spot though? Like,
yeah, it's like, so you're telling me that I could direct cookies like by the transitive property or something, right? Yeah, I think it phases. Yeah, so that's just all been weird, like grappling with time, the passage of time. You know what I mean? Like I built myself up to here, and then I sat down for like 6 years, and I still have this like concept of it, but it doesn't really mean any like the same thing to the same people, because you know other people have kept going, but I've been doing a lot of other stuff too. You know, I've been like, I think I had to do all this stuff. I had to get all this thinking out of the way for me personally to be able to come back to dancing in a really honest way, and like coming back to the community in a way that I was like able to reciprocate. You know what I mean? I also like have my fingers in a lot of pies at any given moment. So it's hard for something to hold my attention. So I think for me, it's been important to think about dance in terms of like a personal commitment to myself rather than like, you know, like all that being a dancer used to mean to me was like having practice every single day, you know. It's just like going to Shannon's house for all female practice and like her dog eating my pads out of the trash can, you know. And then like for some reason like I have to feel bad about it because Shannon's mad at me. That's a true story. I would just make that, you know, I would just pull that out. Yeah, that happens. Yeah, it's like, hey, I don't even have mirrors in my garage and I can still feel like you're dancing. You know what I mean? That's because I got a backyard and photo booth.
I love what you just said, because I think a lot of people, especially if you're in it. So, I mean, when we were in it, and, you know, like you were saying, we were having rehearsals every week and, you know, you're competing and, you know, you're prepping for performances and stuff. And so you're in it, you're like deep in it, and let me backtrack. I feel like I can't find my words either. Okay.
No, yeah, it's contagious.
Edit this out. But very like
labor.
We don't take the time when we're deep in it to take a step back and reflect on everything that you just laid out, and I think that that's really powerful and really impactful. And I don't know if it was necessarily COVID that has allowed you to like have this time of reflection, and I think a lot of people are, COVID is definitely flipped our worlds upside down, and there was a moment where we could all feel scared and sorry for ourselves. But I love that you have just kind of taken this time to reflect.
Yeah, it's like, what else am I doing in here?
That's impactful.
I mean, yeah, I think one of the things like during quarantine that like occurred to me like actually was that like I want to be like an artist. I want to be a writer. I want to be a dancer. And I think that is like, that's a lifestyle choice for me and not a career one. Which is to say, I still have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. Honestly, like if you guys really want to know, my plan is to just like marry someone that has health insurance. Like yeah, like I'm definitely like willing to like play into few gender roles to be able to like support. Oh my god, because no, this is actually relevant. The fact that I have actually during quarantine been like, yeah, I'll just play into these like gender roles, like as much as like I know my own autonomy. Like I have a very strong sense of self. I'd be willing to just like live in this kind of like domestic setting if it afforded me like time for myself and like. But then I was thinking about like what is it to aspire to be an artist, but to like aspire to be financially stable enough to have free time to just like ponder things that aren't like directly involved with your survival. So I think that for me has meant like at least like committing my life to myself in that way. Like I think part of like me, reflecting on being a dancer and just like making a serious like understanding that it's important to me in like a way that I don't find like I can monetize really in this, like going back to like my picture of being a dancer is like being represented and like dancing for Janet Jackson. But I don't know, like I think like I've through quarantine I've realized that like I can commit to being a dancer in a different way. I think like it's weird that like saying it right now it sounds kind of simple, but like it's a pretty like I decided that like I'm not gonna go to college to like pursue a career that like will make me money. You know what I mean? Like it's just like not what's important to me. And I'm willing to like grind through kind of whatever I have to do in order to do that. Yeah, but in the meantime, I'm like, maybe I'll just be working in kitchens for a while. And it's really, as I snuck in my little outline, like, yeah, here we go. What does like my commitment to being a dancer mean to me? It also means like continually like investigating the relationship between like me and my body, and like what it does, what it can do, what it like needs to survive. Like you have to use the muscles or else they're gonna decay. And you have to feed yourself, and you have to, like, I don't know, I think working in the kitchen and working with like gaining a real appreciation for like food and the work that goes into it.
Well, so Kiara, I think one of the things that I'm most interested in is, you know, kind of the life that you're living right now. We've talked a little bit offline, and you're doing a lot of super creative things. So talk to us about what those creative paths are.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, so when I was at Brown, I was like doing sculpture for like a year. So I came back in the middle of like an independent study with like wire sculptures and stuff like that. And I was like, I can't really do that here because I had like, you know, it was stuff hanging from the ceiling. So then I just kind of haphazardly like got into making cyanotype prints. Well, you know, that's one of the names for it. But I was doing printmaking for a while. I was kind of like a lot of like early quarantine. I kind of went crazy, and I was just like, I need to like have some like understanding of like how time is passing right now. Like I had no idea, like I had no concept of like what was going on when I came back. So these are like prints that like the blue comes out in the sun, basically, like exposure to UV rays, like causes a chemical reaction that like turns this iron stuff into Prussian blues. And like the longer the sun hits it for, the darker the blues. So I was like, yeah, this is a photo of like me and like the band I was playing in Mexico. So I was doing that for a while. I should come back to that actually. And I've just been trying to get back into like writing because I don't know, like I just kind of, it's another thing that I've been falling in and out of that I'm now trying to like kind of commit myself to in a more serious way. I've been trying to like write more poetry. Poetry is another thing, like with dance, like you can't even really say what it is. And like I think a lot of people dislike it like for that reason. Yeah, I've been writing more poems and thinking about like what that even means. They like don't always rhyme, sometimes they do. Oh my gosh, like both writing poetry and, you know, as you guys wanted to talk about my nascent rap career, like writing any kind of poem and even like writing a rap verse is like in so many ways like dancing. So I don't know, it kind of feels like cross training to me. It's really interesting, like their poetry to me is really trying to, at least some poetry does a lot of things. One of the things that like I'm really starting to gain appreciation for is the way that poems can tap into like the music of like everyday language, like just ordinary like spoken language. Just the ways that you can like piece together words of different syllables with different accents in different places and just kind of like ride the beat, you know what I mean? Like it's exactly the same thing. So I've just been like trying to get my juice out basically. Like I think I spent a lot of time just like studying and like taking things in. I think that was really important for me too. Like I think I had to like build up a well of like things that I could possibly do, avenues that I could like possibly go in. And now I'm just trying to like produce things. It genuinely, like, throughout quarantine, I've just been kind of trying to do a lot of different art, and it really feels like throwing pasta at the wall and like seeing what sticks. And like that's been awesome. Like I want to say that like one of the things that I had to get over was like fear of failure, but like I don't even like like I have a really lenient, like very few things would now count for me as failure. That's another reason that like that's another way that I can really talk myself out of doing work. So it's really like these are like fun ideas, but like I really have to stay conscious and like balance them with just like actually getting stuff done and actually producing things and actually being in the world. Feeling like I'm improving, whatever that means. But yeah, I've just been like doing a lot of writing. And I don't always have anything to write about. That's another thing that, you know, kind of just being in quarantine and sitting with like being a creative person is like thinking that you have to have something to write about or dance about, and like being a dancer, being creative, you wonder like, what am I trying to say? If I don't have anything to say, is that okay? If I don't have anything to say, is that saying something? Like these are all things I've just been thinking about in a really abstract way. And now I'm trying to, you know, get that out and get that going somewhere. We're gonna see how that goes, but it is like a better feeling. Like I feel more at peace with like my place in that sense, like as a dancer or whatever. And it's not because like I made a team that like a lot of people can't get on.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I mean, there's so much that you said that I was like nodding my head to, because I feel like this past year has taken me down a similar path of like realization, understanding that creating doesn't necessarily have to end in a something. It's really just like the joy of the process. And that's it. Like that's all that I can expect from myself and expect from like creating things, whether it's through dance or something else. But I do feel like I need to, like, just out of my own selfish curiosity, I feel like I need to ask, are you thinking about publishing any of your poetry or writing? Like, is there a milk and honey type book by Kiara Pornan?
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, one of the things that I want to try to do this year is like, I want to publish like maybe like a small like chapbook or something, like I was thinking of like doing both cyanotypes like and poetry like collected. I was also like, the thing with me rapping right now is like I'm still, I just have to find like, you know, my thing. I don't know. There's always like, I'm thinking of so many things right now. Something that you have to like confront when being any kind of artist is like how much of yourself you are going to like kind of like acknowledge to people, like how much of yourself is going to be like in the stuff that you produce rather than the stuff that you produce just being informed by that. Okay, so I'll bring this up and I hope it's not like too unrelated, but you know, whatever. I've been thinking a lot about Anthony Bourdain. And the way, like, kind of the thing that he did was like just go places and be himself, which was like great. And like had really meaningful interactions with people. And I've been wondering, like, you know, how much tension there must have been as he became more and more famous to just like be a real person, you know what I mean? And also kind of, and I know because I've like been reading his books too, I know that he was like confused at a weird like selfishness he started to feel. Like he started having experiences that he didn't want to share with people. And that's like, that was really interesting to me because you go through a lot, like trying to find like truth or trying to like be honest with people. But also like any perception of that like has like inevitably changes you, and you end up like trying to like search for this like truth that doesn't even exist because it's like shaped by the people around you. I don't like, I guess that's just something I've been thinking about, like doing my creating, breaking out of just like kind of the only dance that I really knew. You know what I mean? It's weird that like, can we talk about how weird it is that like everyone, like all the people who dance, like look down on people who dance hip hop, but like now it's like hip hop isn't even like, what is that even anymore? It never really occurred to me that people like couldn't understand that like hip hop requires like as much of you as anything else does. I don't really know why I started talking about this, but I think just like style, fame, I've been trying to like figure out what I'm trying to say before I put it out and let it be shaped by other people. My rap thing, one of the things is like deciding if I'm going to do like an MF Doom thing where I just like, I can rhyme, but I'm not really, you know, I'm not talking about myself. I'm being a supervillain. Yeah, so I think I'm getting all my juice out, and then I'm going to find some of my shticks. You know what I mean? I think that's the next step.
I really like that, Kiara, and you know, going back to the whole thing about Anthony Bourdain, you know, sort of having a little bit of like selfishness, and you know, and wanting to keep certain experiences to himself, and I think that that's really impactful because we live in a world today where everything is out. Everyone feels the pressure to just be transparent and put everything out on social media, and who's to say that we shouldn't allow ourselves the space to keep some of that to ourselves? Who says that we have to put everything on our IG stories? Who says that we have to like put ourselves out there until we're really comfortable with what we're putting out there and sharing those experiences with everyone? It's okay to be selfish with some of these experiences. So I really love that you had to say that. And I love talking to you because I have so many moments like that where I'm like, oh God, you're right.
Yeah, I think this kind of ties in because it's also interesting to think about like, what do like dancers think about as success, and like what, I don't know, because what's always like, what is like at first most visually appealing isn't always like the most impactful. And I think there's like, one of the things Anthony Bourdain must have been frustrated with was the fact that like some things are an acquired taste. And like, I don't know, like there's really something there. There's really something there. Yeah, I think like growing up as an artist is kind of like growing out of eating candy. You know, like you don't want to eat candy all the time anymore.
But also I do.
Yeah. And candy is incredible, but like candy won't sustain you, you know what I mean? Like you need bacon. No, I mean you don't need bacon. You need other things. And like there's I don't know, their experiences other than like this is the best thing ever. Like there's a lot of like I'm learning about like a lot of how much like nuance can be communicated, like how much beauty there are in like the small things and like not the most like ostentatious. Yeah, I mean these are just like I'm speaking vaguely so that they can apply to dance, but like also just like these are things I think about going through my life all the time. Yeah.
I think, you know, when we started this podcast, it really was with the background of dance, but I do believe that our conversations tend to become a little bit more general and with a broader perspective, because so much of, as you said, dance translates over to like what's happening in our everyday lives. Dance is everywhere.
It's literally I can't like get it out of my head. Like I just keep thinking about like being in the studio and like blocking and like figuring out our traffic. And then like that's what I do in the kitchen every day. Like I don't know, that's how I move around the world now. If like places still existed and like people are still out in them. It's given me a real appreciation for like the power of like a lot of people being in the same room at the same time and doing the same thing. But it's also given me a lot of appreciation for like the universality of dance and the fact that everyone can freaking freestyle in their backyards. And it doesn't matter that we had a studio, you know what I mean? Like it of course it matters, but it doesn't matter at all, you know what I mean? Because it's everywhere. And it would be whether or not, you know, the studio. It would be whether or not we had a backyard.
Well, and yeah, I mean, before we had the studio, we started in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, that's so a cul-de-sac.
You know,
and
yeah.
Jumping on it. Man, I remember I don't know, sometimes we just like couldn't be in the studio, so we'd just be like bumping out of Jordan's car in the park and just like, oh my god, practicing for Del Mar. Oh my god, on the basketball court.
Exactly.
I was thinking about like kind of how dancing set me up for just like being friends with people who are older than me for the rest of my life. And like, oh my gosh, how responsible you guys were compared to like all the other people I have friends with now. I remember like being in the park and like Michelle didn't even want Jordan to vape in front of us. And now it's like a whole other rodeo out there, you know. Again, a lot of respect for my formative years.
Well, you know, I think part of it too, and you know, we talked about it when we were not recording, is, you know, we know your parents personally, and you know, I think we felt an obligation to, when you were with us, to make sure that we watched over you and that we took care of you, and you know, we took you in as our sister, and so. You know, yeah, I didn't let Jordan do that shit around you because I didn't want it to influence any of you guys, you know?
Well, at least until you guys
Big
were
tobacco.
You know, at a point where you could like make those decisions for yourself, you know. Because, I mean, I was like considered an adult, but at that time I felt like I was like really impressionable. I was like, whoa, what are they doing? Like you guys, like, yeah, I want to be cool and young.
Yeah.
Kiara.
Yeah. Nah, the peer pressure is real.
We had some amazing memories. What is your favorite? So we actually did some reminiscing earlier about just kind of like all the accolades that Raw won, and all the competitions that we went to. What's your favorite? What was your favorite memory? Your favorite competition? Your favorite award?
My favorite, I don't know what year it was, but the year that I think Dylan and I danced with Ripe in the salmon t-shirts and the salmon button-ups at Del Mar. That was metal. That was fun. Do you remember that? That's like all I remember. I think, yeah, like Russell's still, I think like there's a Memo and Fonnie were still there. Or like they had come back or something. I don't know. It's all jumbled up. I remember that was like, I'm an adult. That was before I even had braces. That was so memorable. But also this one like memory I just like was thinking of when you were talking was one time being in the studio, being Leah like laying prone on the floor and me like sitting on her back drinking a strawberries and cream frappuccino from the Barnes and Noble Starbucks, and Fred doing some weird like thing, like he was like spinning on his head or something, but then he did something weird and like it made me laugh, and I spit the strawberries and cream frap all over Leah. Like all over her. So, that one might be better than like winning with Ripe. Just because like that was so strange. Oh, and another really similarly, because it's all in the little things, guys. Another similarly boba like beverage related incident was like one time Dana taking class in my shorts, in my basketball shorts, and then like going on the shelf and drinking her boba. Someone taking a picture of her, and then her later getting mad at me because she thought I was drinking her boba. She thought it was a picture of me drinking her boba.
Because she was wearing your shorts.
Yeah, because she was wearing my shorts. So it's just like these are the moments that make up a life. You know what I mean? Like, and the fact that like I still remember the Del Mar set and like Dancer's Life and the orchestra set. Those are all like so fun.
You still remember all
I
of it?
remember a lot of it. I don't know. Hold on.
Yes.
I'm on my. There's so many things on my bed. Like it's not.
All that training.
And then it's like same place. I don't remember the part. And then it's like, and then it's like, remember?
If our listeners are tuning into the video podcast, will they be able to appreciate what just happened?
There's also like, let's go to the beach, let's go to like, say, what they're gonna say, have a drink, wait. Oh, I can't believe I know this. Oh, I don't know this. Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
It always boggled my mind. Like, truly, it's incredible to me when dancers can remember choreography for that long. Because, like, as I was dancing and, like, still, like when I was more active, I would go to rehearsal and I'd learn something. And if I didn't practice it, then the next rehearsal, I'd be like, what? How does it start again? So that is like an amazing quality that you have. Your memory is just amazing.
Those medleys were life, girl.
Well, and Dancer's Life was one of my favorite medleys because I felt like it was it told such a complete story in such a short amount of time. And it was very clear and very succinct and just really, really well put together. Like that was one of the medleys that will always like be in my heart and my mind. I loved that one.
Mm-hmm. There was definitely a point where I'm all out of breath because I danced on my bed. It's like running on the sand. It's like jogging on the beach. Yeah, there's definitely a time when like I feel like a lot of people were doing like storytelling medleys, and then a lot of people were doing like, you know, one song medleys, and then now people just kind of dance. That's really like, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm all in touch with the dance community nowadays, but it's been really interesting to like watch hip hop evolve and I don't know, just like watch everyone else learning that like there are a bunch of different ways that we could do this.
Let's do some rapid fire, Kiara.
Oh, man.
I'm going to set a timer for 45 seconds, but I've been known to let the time go a little bit longer because I like to cheat a little bit. But I'm going to set a timer for 45 seconds. Devin's going to run through a bunch of just rando questions, and you're supposed to answer them as quickly as possible. Right. Are you ready? Get in the zone. Okay, ready?
Let's go.
Set, go.
What did you eat for breakfast this morning?
Nothing.
Would you rather live in the ocean or on the moon?
Moon.
Student or teacher?
No.
One word to describe your style.
Linky.
Choreo or freestyle?
Freestyle.
Rocky or Tajima?
Tajima.
Favorite song to sing?
When It Hurts So Bad by Lauryn Hill.
Solo or with a team?
Solo.
Favorite piece you've choreographed?
Oof. I can't even remember. I haven't choreographed in years. Oh.
Time.
Look what you did to me.
I'm so sorry.
Look what you done. Was that Drake song? Look what you done to me.
Oh, that's a good song.
That was Jasmine. Was that Jasmine White? No.
That was a Drake song, but I was gonna say something really interesting to think about also is that like I kind of stopped listening to hip hop when I stopped dancing. So like my knowledge of Drake lasts until like 2014, you know what I mean? And it's just like this really funny like phenomenon in my life. Where, you know, now I'm coming back to like music and I'm like, what's happening? I feel like a grandpa. But then I'm also like, I really like boom bap and stuff like that. So I've been, and it just makes me want to dance, you know? I don't know where I was going with this. Yeah, like just let Kiara talk.
One question that we didn't get to is if you could write a book, what would it be about?
I want to write, well, like I have a serious answer and kind of like well, I don't know that I have a serious answer. I think like just a biography of my life would be very interesting, to be frank. But I don't know if I'll ever have the patience for that kind of thing. I am interested in writing like a fake Bible or something. Like I kind of just like want to invent a religion, or like write like a style guide. just to kind of be funny. I don't know. Like, I kind of think about things like that. If you're asking, if this is a question of like, you know, what do I think I have enough expertise about to write a book on?
No, you're thinking too much about it, Kiara.
Okay. Okay. I figured I was.
I like the Bible idea, and I like the style book idea. But I would also love to like really read a story about you.
Yeah. Well, another thing I'm entertaining is like I've been watching a lot of stand-up comedy. And I've been like, I could totally do this. Like,
I was gonna say I could totally see you doing it.
I don't even know why like this hadn't occurred to me until like a month or two ago. I'm like, I'm at least this funny. Like,
Have you
so many funny stories stuff?
Have you seen what's his name? Andrew Arolfo? Is that his name?
Arolfo? Yeah, Andrew Arolfo. Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. This might be a shot in the dark, but I feel like your humor would be similar to his.
I'm writing it down. How do you spell his last name?
Orolfo. You can look him up on Instagram. He was also on the Joe Coy comedy special.
Wow.
I can't
wait.
I could see you being a stand-up comic, Kiara, for sure. You've got like a really quick wit and like sarcasm about you that I think would really like make you a successful comedian.
Thank you. Yeah, that's another thing I have to think about, you know. Whether or not I want to be famous, though. It's not really my thing. I'm definitely designed to be like a local legend, though. Like,
I think so.
But
too.
I don't think like anything more than that, and I would become like in the superhero movies when they're like they have too much power for their bodies and they just like start to disintegrate. I feel like that's what would happen to me if I, you know, became like a successful comedian in that sense.
I like
these are all things like I think about constantly. I'm like, oh my god, what if I'm too good at this thing and it ruins my life?
But I like that you have enough introspection to be like, hey, like I kind of know like my limits. Like I know if I go beyond this, it's going to take me to potentially a place that I don't want to be in. But I know if I take it like to this level, then it'll bring me happiness and joy. And I can share, you know, whatever this craft is with, you know, the broader community. So I really love that about you.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, commitment to the bit. I've been watching a lot of Dave Chappelle. He's like so funny because like he's like so correct. Like I think I'm excellent at being correct in addition to being excellent at being funny.
I couldn't agree more.
Like, it all just makes sense. Yeah. So there's a list of like, you know, 20 things I want to like devote the rest of my life to. And I'm probably like after this going to go take a nap or something. But it's like really interesting. Not that that sounded like I was trying to like get you guys to like hang up or something. But I was just like, I just feel like I've been talking about like so many things that, you know, I'm actually spending time on. But a lot of it I spend working. Working drains a lot of the creative juice, which is why I'm trying to find a spouse with health insurance.
I think that's like
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say I think that's the story of every creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like having so many ideas and then just taking a nap.
Yeah. And then freaking going to work. I just wake up and I'm like, oh, it's 2 p.m. I was supposed to work at 1. That has happened to me. Except it was 3. I was supposed to work at 3 and I woke up at 5. True story. Okay. This is the cost of, being so willy-nilly, loosey-goosey, the sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I want to hear from your perspective, and I know that you'll be honest, which is why I'm asking. Being, growing up and spending your formative years as part of a dance team, what are your opinions on everything that's come to light in the dance community about the sexual misconduct and the sexual abuse reports?
And the Black Lives Matter. I mean, those were 2 really important things that came up that we had kind of been not addressing.
So about the sexual harassment and stuff like that, I was surprised because I wasn't really kind of like I was saying earlier, the situations that we were in were never even anything remotely we were young and so I was surprised to hear about it in that sense because I didn't really know that. How do I say this? When I was in the dance community, I was young and we were all very good. And then in other scenes, people are not all good like that. You know what I mean? So I was surprised to hear about it in the dance community, but I wasn't surprised. I was surprised because I wasn't directly in touch with any of that, but I wasn't surprised because that's just what happens. Not in a kind of resigned sense, but that's what happens when people are powerful because other people like them and they're cool and they kind of have something that you can't really point a finger at and you can't really weigh against other things. So I wasn't surprised about that, and that's how I feel about that. I feel glad to never have had anything close to that happen to me. In terms of the Black Lives Matter stuff happening in the dance community, I think not that I want to say that I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier, but I'm not surprised at all. You know what I mean? There's another thing. I think it's really important and powerful that we are kind of having this reckoning now. One of the things that I think we as for some reason it's a thing that all the young Filipino kids dance hip hop. And it's we're all Filipino for some reason. And I think I was thinking about how kind of being with a dance team in that way was the first time I was able to kind of quote unquote take pride in my heritage in a way that wasn't incredibly corny to me. Which on one hand is definitely an extension of colonizer mentality, but on another hand is appealing we're appealing instead to something that isn't originally our own without and we hadn't really acknowledged that, and we I think this is all good. I think it's important for us to just recognize where we came from in every respect, because people are really about that. in the dance community in certain respects, and that's really important. And like we are just like considering that in more dimensions now. I think at least it's also good that it wasn't even ever a thing that we really thought about or acknowledged at all. You know what I mean? The fact that like hip hop culture is like this is all rooted in like Black American culture and like African American culture, and is like predicated like it's we picked up a lot of like what we thought was best about it, and now we're just like reckoning with what we owe to the people around us. And I think that is what we're doing with everything. I think it's good that it's happening now. I think, you know, things like I am for Black Lives Matter. I think that things like this should keep happening. Yeah, like in the very classic sense. But I really like I have a really deep appreciation for like all the ways that I was like, you know, unaware of myself that I'm like trying to now be, and like the ways going forward that I can be better to the people around me. And part of that is like acknowledging other people's struggles and acknowledging like what the benefits of their struggles have brought us. I think it's amazing that we like even think to acknowledge this now, because we really like just didn't. And that's just like the circles that we were in, you know what I mean? Kind of learning to be out in the world.
I want to also know kind of your opinions on, you know, I know that you said that you haven't been immersed in the community as much, but, you know, we always wrap each episode with our guest's opinion on what's good in the dance community right now. And so tell us what's good, Kiara.
Can I okay. Here's my, not completely divorced, but like very separate opinion, which is first to go check out my friends that I used to dance with, including, you know, Leah Gradonia, Divine Maharaj, the love of my life, Joshua Candy, Nick Tanga, Fred Lante, etc. Sorry if I forgot anyone. I don't know who still dances, all of you. I know Josh does. I see him on Instagram all the time. Jordan Bernardo. Okay. And second, what's good to me personally is I'm trying to bring back the Dougie. I can't believe the Dougie ever left me. But I don't know. I just think like right now, as far as I'm aware, there is a severe lack of appreciation for like all the potentials of the Dougie. The fact that you can Dougie to like basically anything. The fact that, you know, I'm in a Dougie right now. Oh my god. Should I put on some music?
Just to prove your point, yes.
Okay. I'm gonna hook up to my Bluetooth speaker, so if it becomes like insanely disruptive, I apologize in advance.
Wait. Okay, there.
Oh yeah, I can't do it like that, but you know what I mean? You know, it's just like, it's such a natural. What are you tugging on? You know, like, why don't people do that all the time?
You just made my day.
Thank you. I'm so glad. So that's what's good in the dance community right now is the Dougie. People are sleeping on it. People, again, are forgetting where we came from. And I think we should bring it back. like that.
The eternal question lives on. What are you tugging at?
Exactly. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe I don't have anything funny to say. And you're just pulling. You're just pulling at God's heartstrings. That's so terrible.
Maybe you can incorporate the Dougie in your Bible, in your religion.
That is, oh my God. And the power of like rituals and like how grounding that is. And like, that's another amazing thing about dance. It's like having a daily stretch. But yeah, I'll put that in my Bible and the Dougie. I mean, Dougie should be like part of the warm up, I think. Like your invocation to the dance. It's like the rain dance. You're like praying for rain. Oh yeah. See? I'm just like a fount of these things.
You are a beautiful weirdo, and I love you so much. And I'm so happy that we had this time to talk to you. I'm going to turn it over to Devin, but I regret not having the opportunity to talk to you more during quarantine, but I hope that this is an opportunity for us to stay connected and continue to have more Zoom calls. And I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, I'm going to echo everything that Michelle said. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is my maid of honor. Like everything in this episode and so much more is the reason why, I'm so proud to say that Kiara is like my little sis. So thank you so much, Kiara, for coming on the podcast. We love you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Like, I don't know. There's nothing I can say that you guys don't know. I love you guys so much, and I'm so glad to be here.
Please don't bring your friends.
Thank you so much for listening to the Collab podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please show your support by leaving a review on iTunes.
And be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcast.
The conversation continues over on Instagram and YouTube with highlights from today's episode.
When you on the way, make that move. Can't stay dead, no, that's my boo. Yeah, that's boo.